Donald Trump has been trying to take credit for lowering crime rates in this country from basically the second he stepped back into the Oval Office last year. And thankfully for everyone, look, we all want crime rates to go down, and they have been going down. But here's the thing. Trump doesn't want you to know that violent crime has been steadily declining since 2022, beginning under President Joe Biden. And there are several reasons experts and people who are actually leaders in communities have credited for this, like more advanced technological surveillance and local community violence intervention programs, with the most significant reason often being credited to the increase in local government and public safety jobs made possible, I would note, through the American Rescue Plan of 2021. Again, passed under Joe Biden. But those are all, well, they're very inconvenient facts for Donald Trump. He'd prefer that everyone believe that crime has dropped due to the National Guard troops he's sent out into the streets of cities like Washington, D.C. Well, last month, the think tank Center for American Progress fact-checked Trump on that one. They released a massive data analysis report that found that Trump's National Guard deployments not only failed to reduce violent crime, but they're on track to cost American taxpayers more than $1.7 billion. The report also points out that the Trump administration actively terminated funding for community violence initiatives that were actually found to, well, reduce violence. Again, those aren't really convenient facts for Trump. So how did he respond? Well, how do you think he responded? A temper tantrum-fueled legal threat launched on social media. His legal team sent a letter to the Center for American Progress's CEO, Neera Tanden, earlier this week, threatening that if they did not fully retract their National Guard report by 5 p.m. today, Trump would be suing them for $5 billion. Well, everyone, it's 9:35. It's past 5 p.m. That report is still up, and so is a statement from Neera Tanden saying this threatened lawsuit's attack on facts and evidence is baseless. We will neither cower nor bend in the face of it. Joining me now is Neera Tanden. She is the president and CEO of the Center for American Progress. My bet is that report's going to stay up. Can everyone bet on that? And they should now go all check out the report.
It's pretty safe that it's going to stay up, and it's staying up really because it's true. And that's as you pointed out in your report. The facts are that the rate of violent crime did not increase. The rate was the same in cities that had the National Guard deployments as cities that didn't. And the rate was going down before the National Guard deployments and after the National Guard deployments. So, we make a simple point, which is there's really no evidence that the National Guard deployments have had any impact on the rate of violent crime in these cities. And that is what created this maelstrom.
So you got this letter earlier this week. It threatened a deadline of 5 p.m. today. I should note the letter was written by one of Trump's favorite lackeys who writes these legal letters threatening people, who actually was reprimanded by a judge over his involvement in the IRS lawsuit. But that aside, have you been contacted at all by Trump's team in the last couple of hours? Has anything happened on this front?
No, we haven't heard anything. I mean, they could drop a lawsuit against us at any moment. We haven't heard from them. I do think what's really interesting about this is that this threatened lawsuit is from the president's personal lawyer. Mm-hmm. Our criticism was of a federal policy. It was of a Trump administration policy and whether it was having the impact the administration claims it's having. We found that it did not have that impact. But what we saw here is not a criticism from the White House itself. We have a lawsuit claiming defamation, and I just want to say defamation for facts and evidence and crime statistics, something barely anyone's ever heard of. And that is coming from the president's personal lawyer, which is striking to say that facts inconvenient to the administration are defamation to the president. That's pretty anti-democratic to us.
Yeah, it definitely is. What does that tell you about Trump?
I think if you really step back here, the fact that they are trying to intimidate a research institution for offering facts on their policies, again, we had 3 models we looked at: violent crime, homicides, gun violence. And in each of those cases, we did a thorough analysis. And the fact that they're trying to silence a report like this, what could possibly be protected speech if not facts developed from evidence and crime statistics about governmental policies. It's hard to imagine what the First Amendment would protect if it doesn't protect speech like that. How is the public supposed to know if something's working or not if only the government's facts are ever allowed in the public square?
Well, they don't like data that is inconvenient to them. There is a big trend there. I was just talking with the editor-in-chief of the former editor-in-chief of Stars and Stripes and also a reporter who were fired today. This all feels to me like it's all a part of a big pattern of kind of trying to make their own narrative and firing or threatening lawsuits against anyone who contradicts that. We have both worked in a lot of administrations. I just wonder what you think of that pattern, how you think about things like the impact of the firing of these leaders from the Stars and Stripes.
I think what we're seeing is, as you said, there's this range of firings, this range of attacks. It's really to intimidate people, to silence people, to create examples of punishment to people who offer facts and evidence that are contrary to the narrative. Those reporters are reporting on how our soldiers are actually being treated. And that's apparently, it seems, they came up with other reasons, but that seems one of the reasons why they were punished. For us, the president's personal lawyer is threatening a $5 billion
It's like a made-up
lawsuit.
number.
It's definitely a made-up number, but it's a big one. And I think it's designed to scare people, to say, don't offer the truth. And what I'd say to others who are worried about this, they want people to self-censor. And I will say the Center for American Progress will offer facts and evidence in the future, just as we have in the past, because we know part of their strategy is to induce fear that make people worried about being honest about the reality we see. And we will not cower or bend to that.
As I always say, if you give the bully your lunch money, they're just going to come back for more lunch money. Although $5 billion is a whole lot of lunch money. Neera Tanden, thank you for being here and for being so fearless. It is an inspiration to a lot of people who are a little scared right now. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me.